Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. Okay, welcome to my art stream. We're back to finish up our robot illustration. Nice. Darkenmar Art said, wow, awesome intro. Thank you. So we're going to be basically just wrapping up this illustration of the robot, and then I'm going to crash for the night. But for those of you who didn't catch the first stream, I have a client who hired me to do an illustration of a robot X-ray. They like my Hermit X-ray, and they wanted an X-ray of a robot that would be applicable to hackers and to computer programmers. And I was thinking, what powers a computer programmer or a hacker or a graphic designer, honestly, more than coffee? So we're going to make a robot that's similar to the robot that they use a lot on their book covers. And then we're going to do it in the same style as my puppet checkup illustration that I did, over a decade ago. And then we're going to kind of do some tricks to kind of make it look like an X-ray. And then we're going to be done. So honestly, it shouldn't be too long of an illustration, but let's get going. On the last stream, I did the pencils for it, like the rough pulls. And right now what we're doing is going over it and tightening the pencils and basically rendering it. And then after we have it rendered, we're pretty close to finished at that point. So let's obviously there's going to be some tricks with like inverting it and stuff like that. But let's get back to the illustration. So here it is. I did a little bit more work on it while my son, I had to get my son in a bath and all that fun stuff. So in between, I've been kind of just doing some little bits of shading here and there, but not much has been done since the last stream. So let's get going on this. So I'm going to handle that coffee pot in a second. For now, what I want to do is finish up the robot. And we're going to go to this spot here and start adding some shading. So here I want this shading to be getting I think what I'll do is have it be lighter in the back, and then it will gradually get darker as it comes towards us. And then we will kind of be close to done with shaded on this part of the robot. And then we'll get the other little pieces here and there filled in as well. And we're just going to knock this out before I crash. So I had all these plans of stuff I was going to do today. And a lot of it is probably going to have to be put off till tomorrow. This is the life I lead. So I thought that I was going to get this illustration done, roughs for another client done, and get a little further on Not Death But Love, the strange supernatural story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. But I think what I'm going to be able to get done is probably this robot and just call it a night. And then the other stuff I will carve away at and chip away at tomorrow. Yeah. But on this stream, I will be streaming until we finish this robot illustration in its entirety. So it's a fairly easy robot to draw. Again, like real basic shapes, and very old school kind of 1950 style bot. And I will probably add a little bit more renders to it, maybe as we go, but we'll just kind of see how far we get. So let's see how this is turning out. Yeah, I'm kind of digging how this is coming out. There's a couple things I want to clean up the edges a little bit. I might add just a tiny bit of hatching over it too when I'm done, just to kind of add a little bit more texture and volume to it. We did a tiny bit of that up here, where it's just got a little bit of, tiny little elements of hatching when you get up close to it. I think that adds some kind of volume and stuff. But yeah, so there's our kind of happy with that. That's the easiest part of the shading that I probably had all night. And then we're going to kind of go through, and again, we're just kind of rendering these shapes. So I do want to finish up this line. This is one of those things where I do feel like sometimes people get lost when they're working digitally. Like, you don't need a bunch of special tools. This is literally just a default pencil that is on in Photoshop. You don't need like fancy rendering, tools or anything like that when you're working. Just like, we had Christopher Runciman on Artcasters recently, and he was talking about his kind of theory of art tools, which I like quite a lot. Which is basically like you don't need really expensive art tools. In fact, sometimes that can be a problem to have too many expensive art tools and too many tools and not really know what to do with them. Sometimes it's best to just kind of have what you have at your disposal. And yeah, I was thinking about that too, where one of the reasons people like to I've done a few things on this channel where I've shown like different guitars I own and stuff. One of the reasons it's nice to have a bunch of different styles of guitars, from like really expensive to cheap to modded to just whatever, float your boat, with different styles and sounds and stuff like that, is that each tool kind of brings out a different thing in the way you play. And I think that's kind of the same with art supplies. I think that, like, depending on your art supply, you're going to work a little differently, maybe a little looser, maybe a little more tenderly. And it's always good to have like a bunch of art supplies in your arsenal. But, the more expensive the art supply, it doesn't always mean the best result. Same with, with digital stuff. You don't always need a million brushes. Sometimes you just need to stick with one or two and kind of see what comes out of it. And much like Christopher Runson was talking about on Artcasters, like, the limitation of the tool can actually be a really good thing for creativity. Here, I'm kind of limiting myself to this one brush. And so this isn't that unsimilar to the way that I've been working for Not Death But Love, the graphic novel I've been working on. And that kind of actually leads to some pretty cool results. I want to have a little bit of reflected light kind of towards the bottom here on this guy. So I'm going to kind of clean that up a little bit, and then we'll just go over that again. And then I want to have also just a little bit of shadow. Just kind of piecing these two pieces together. And maybe we'll go over with white. But I think right now what I want to do actually is kind of move on to the next little chunk of the robot. So here we're going to have the inside of or the neck of the robot is going to be kind of connecting. And I want to taper, or at least cut off the line area where that's going to go. And kind of clean that up. Okay. So let's see how this is looking. It's coming along okay. I don't mind it. I don't mind it so much. Cool. I was born in '93, but I remember that show Darkenmar. Mark Chrysler was very encouraging of exploring art. Nice. Darkenmar Art said it reminds me of Imagination Station. Do you remember that show? I actually do not remember that show. It sounds like a cool show though. I bet it actually. It's funny. It sounds really familiar. So I have a feeling if maybe I saw parts of it, maybe I would recognize it more. So here, these bottom parts are going to be the easiest to shade because we're just going dark as it gets close to us and then lighter as it gets further away. And then just kind of cleaning in. I really can't wait to get into just adding a little bit of. We'll see. We'll see how much we have to add. But I'd like to add just like if I have time. My hope is to kind of get this done in about an hour. But if I have time, I would like to add some mild hatching as well, just to kind of give it a little texture. Oh, that's what I need to do. I was like, there's something wrong with this, and then it's because I didn't clean up the end here. So in theory, if I clean this up, it should look real sharp. So again, if you guys want to see this like being sketched out and kind of worked out, initially you can see the live stream. We're about an hour into this at this point, and we're just gonna kind of rock this robot. We're gonna rock this robot, and I am just stacking layers at this point. I will probably flatten a lot of them in a little bit, but for this to work effectively, my best bet is to kind of treat it almost as if I'm drawing it in pencil. Because the original puppet checkup, I actually just drew on a white sheet of paper with a like mechanical pencil, and then kind of reversed it out and did some effects on Photoshop that I will probably be replicating here. Because what I'm eventually going to do is kind of halftone this, but like with real tiny halftones, so that we have some of that kind of going. Why am I doing this on the same layer? I should do my shading on a different layer. Okay, so I want to have this kind of start to go dark on the sides. Again, it's got to be kind of front lit, I think, for it to be effectively looking like a like there can be a little bit of directional light, but in general, I think it needs to be kind of front lit to look like a an X-ray when we get to the final product. And I want to have this have a little bit of shadow here, almost like it's dipping down from the head. And then here we'll do just some mild stuff, and here we'll do just a little bit more mild stuff. And I think I'm going to do this in a couple passes. So like right now I'm going to do an overall of the of the being itself, and then in the shading, and then I might go over it with white one more time just to kind of clear it up and clean it up a little bit. And then I might, if I have time again, kind of take a pass over it with a little bit of cross hatching. But a lot of rendering and stuff and drawing is kind of a matter of patience. So you're just kind of slowly building over time and then add to it. I kind of don't like that line too much, so I want to clean it up a little bit. Okay, and then let's turn off this. Oh, it's looking pretty rad. I always love how this stuff works. You know, where it's like just basic shapes, kind of having fun. You know, not being too precious. It can actually really lead to quite a bit of fun on an illustration. And I mean, the neat thing about drawing is like, even though this is basic shapes and stuff, this is kind of what it is. You're kind of taking an item, breaking it down into basic shapes, thinking how are those shapes rendered, right? And then you're kind of making an illustration from it. So it's fun when it works. Most of the time it works. So I want to have this. I'm going to go ahead and kind of finish up a lot of line art here. But I'm having to correct a little bit of the initial drawing because there's some stuff that's not making a lot of sense that will now make a little bit more sense. Because I'm basically correcting a little almost like ratchety thing. I don't know what that's called. It's like a bendy thing in mechanics or whatever. You see these in hoses a lot. They're like little brackets of I don't know, I don't remember what it's called, like ratchet or something. Okay. Now I want to do some shading, and then we're gonna get in there and kind of work our magic. So let's see here. So this is going to be shaded here. Have a little bit of light, a little bit of reflected light. This will be a little bit darker, but darker towards us. This one, again, it's kind of front lit. It's not going to have a shadow like the one above it of the chin. So this one will just kind of get a little darker as it gets further from us. I think I will make the light a tad bit directional in the sense that it'll be a little bit more toward the front. And then again, I'm going to do this a little darker. And this will have a little bit of light there. And then we just kind of repeat almost. And the nice thing about this is with the X-ray illustrations is what you really need at the base is like a decent little rendering. It doesn't have to be like perfect, but it needs to be a pretty decent little volumetric rendering that we can then take and modify a little bit in a second. Okay, let's see how this is looking. Yeah, I'm kind of digging this so far. I feel like that one was a little too dark. But we'll correct that in a second. I'm going to hit the neck in a second with a little bit of light. For right now, I'm trying to get all my dark shades in. And then again, we'll kind of darken it up here. That is. And this is going to connect to his chest, so I do want like a slight bit of almost like reflected shadow. And then I'm going to hit it with some white at this point. So let's see how that works. So what I need now is I need just a little bit of light here because it went a little too dark. And then I want this to get much lighter. So again, I feel like it went just a little too dark. And this will get slightly lighter. I kind of want this to be, where's my lines? Actually, I'm pretty happy with that. I kind of like that. Okay, so we're going to save, and then we're going to get the robot's chest. Then I'm going to take another pass at it. There's a couple things I want to do, though, real quick. That might have been just a little too harsh. Okay. And maybe we lighten these up a little bit too. Okay. And now we'll go back in. So what I have around me is a bunch of inspiration. Pepsi Cola said, it's fascinating watching simplistic shapes snowball into complex scene. Even watching it seems sort of like magic. Nice. Dark and Mar Art said, gotta head out. Have fun streaming. Nice. Nice. Okay, so then we're going to get our, let's just get this going here. And again, with this part, I want it to be real thin. A really thin line. Didn't like how that connected. And then we're going to have it come back around here. And then I want to have this connect to this. And this. And I think what we'll do here is maybe we'll add like a mild, do I want to add a mild detail? I like the idea of it having kind of some sort of little detail to it that kind of makes it a little more complicated. Not wildly more complicated, just a little bit. So maybe we do like there's a screw here. Oh, come on. Problem is my Photoshop sometimes lags when I'm working with a digital brush. Makes sense. It takes a lot of memory. Maybe we'll do like these are just screws here, right? Maybe they're connected to a plate. Again, this is a very old school robot. And maybe that plate has just a tiny bit of dimension to it, but not a lot. So then we can have that plate, make sure that goes through, make sure that goes through. And maybe this plate kind of connects that section. Maybe this kind of connects that section. And then again, that's going to be kind of darkened in that spot. I can dig that. Okay. So we're going to do just a little bit more. Look at the top would look like. Here it's going to be lighter at the top and darker toward the bottom for this angle. Oh. Turn the opacity down a little bit so I can see what I'm erasing. And again, I think it might be another 30 minutes to finish this up. Maybe it'll be a little longer. I mean, you could do this quicker with like gradients and stuff, but I don't think it's going to have the same kind of hand done quality to it. By doing just a little bit more work on it without just resorting to like gradients, you end up with like a more kind of customized painting kind of look, which to me is worth it. I want to have this just get a little bit lighter, almost like the light's reflecting a little bit off of the neck. I also don't want to have this overlap the neckline. There we go. That's kind of working. We'll get into it a little more, but it's starting to work. Have a night, working more, says Pepsi Cola. Nice. Pepsi Cola said the coffee pot or syrup pourer to the left threw me. He said, I understand it's for reference, but now I imagine it's the robot's pet he carries around. Nice. Okay, so we're getting there. And I want to finish up this spot. So here we're going to do, this is going to get real light as it comes towards and then darker as it gets away. Oh, and I'm on the wrong color. Might help to have the right color there. So I want this to get like super dark and a little bit light. And then I want to do just a tiny bit of details here. We'll do like this super dark, this super dark. It's going to get just a little bit. Maybe we have some shadows kind of cast off this thing. Then we're going to do a little bit of light to dark. Okay. And then maybe this will be getting a little dark to light. Very light over here. Cool. Yep, we're getting closer. It's taking a while. Okay. Now what I want to do is add like a shadow here. Under this guy. And then we're going to do kind of lighter to darker. As it comes towards us. Pepsi Cola said it's on its way and looking good. Thanks. Yeah, it'll get there. It's kind of a patience game with this kind of thing. Always is. But if you take your time, you can kind of make anything look pretty cool. Especially when you know your fundamentals, you know? So we're going to go ahead and erase this out. I'm going to clean up the edges in a bit too. But for right now, this is looking pretty good to me. Don't want it overlapping here. Just making sure our original details are kind of showing through. Cool. Now there's one thing I want to do that I want to clear up, which is going to be the, I think I want, as it gets closer to his body, I want it to just a tad bit darker, just to add some more of that kind of realism. And we're going to probably take a second pass at this with lights in a second, but I'm trying to make it work mostly with darks first. And again, all of this rendered and line is going to get flattened out before we do the X-ray effect. Philip said, Josh is doing a double feature tonight. Nice. Am I? All right. So what we're going to do is this. And then we're going to do we're going to do basically his chest, right? And all the rest of that. So we've been going for 30 minutes. I'm going to play the trailer since Philip popped in. Let's play Philip Chandler's trailer. Here it is.
Hi, my name is Phil Chandler. I'm a freelance artist, illustrator, and cartoonist. Today, though, however, I want to tell you about a graphic novel I picked up recently called Jacob's Apartment. This book was both written and beautifully illustrated by Joshua Kemble. It is the story of a doomed romance that causes the main character to question his beliefs and his faith, while he's also going through other tragedies in his life. Every page has been illustrated by hand and digitally colored with painstaking detail. It is an emotional story that causes you to think and even question things in your own life. And while the story is a tragedy, it is one that I was completely entertained by and I highly recommend. You can currently find this on Amazon or even check in with your local bookstore and see if you can order it. And while you're at it, you can also check out my Instagram at Phil Chandler Arts and also my YouTube channel by the same name, Phil Chandler Arts. And go buy Jacob's Apartment.
All right, here we go. So we're going to do some interesting stuff coming up soon, but let's get the rest of this done. We're also going to need to add the coffee pot, which will be pretty easy peasy. Strangely enough, a lot of people when you're working on something like this think like the body would take a long time. And I was like, actually, this body part, like this wider part, is going to be kind of one of the easier things to render. You can quote me on that if it takes like 5 years. But it's just a big shape, right? Philip said, I missed that little office. Yeah, that seemed like a pretty cool setup you had, man. To have like a tiny little office, you know? I'm going to have the lines kind of drag out a little bit. Maybe the shading too. Maybe it'll go from, let's see here. So maybe we'll have, kind of figuring this out as we go. Okay. So I want to have, you know what? I want to finish some of these lines first. Got a lot of layers here. But I think what we'll do is we'll kind of do this just to give ourselves like a parameter. Okay, and I think that's it for the finish line. So what I want to do now is just the broader kind of overview of him, his chest. And then what we're going to do is from there, we'll kind of add other components. But this is pretty easy peasy, the bigger renders. Bigger renders are actually easier. I find. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. But it's just like a big, you know, cylinder. Okay. Well, not a big cylinder in this case, like a big sphere, but it's not too bad. And then I want to have like some shadow here where his little plate is going to be. And then I also want to have some shadow here. I want it to get darker, but more kind of targeted darker. And I want to make it a little metallic. So maybe it has like a couple bands of dark. And then right here where his arm is, it's going to have a lot of shade. And as it comes down, I want it to go real dark because it's going to go into the shirt eventually. And similarly here. So easy peasy. Now I just have to erase out what I don't need. So to make it look a little sharper. Da, 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 da. Philip was saying what he meant by double feature was me being on earlier, and he was about to chime in right when I got out. Yeah, I had to get my kid to sleep and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I'm going to finish this robot come hell or high water, and hopefully it's not super late tonight when I finish it. My estimate is about an hour. Was about an hour. I'd say maybe it'll be about an hour more from now. Want to have this for his arms. His arms are going to be annoying. Those big round things will be easy though. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn on the layer with his shading. We'll go ahead and take a look. How's it looking? I think it's looking pretty good. All right, Rod, dude. Let's get another layer to this going. So let's get our where are we? I can't even figure out where we're at with the layers here. Okay. I'm going to just go to this top layer and go above it. Okay. I want to do a spot that's going to be just flat. And if it's dark below, then it'll probably be... Actually, this one I just want to do straight light to dark here. Pretty dark, though. I want it to be almost black. And we're going to erase it out again. Cool. Okay. Now let's have our shoulders, and we'll make that happen right now. Yeah, I like that. The one thing I don't like, I want to reveal it a little bit, so maybe we cheat it just a little bit, as if there's like a lip here where it gets a little lighter. And then we'll do some erasure, not the band erasure. Okay. Okay, and now I'll do dark here. I need to tone that back a little bit. Let's get that toned back just a tiny bit, where it's like a tiny sliver of reflected light, just to show that mechanic there. Okay, so now we'll do just a real quick, very light line for our circular arms. And I'm going to have that connect over here. And then I want to have this action for his like arm panel things, 2B arm things. So there we go. And what the heck? Let's do them both at the same time. So we're going to basically both little 2B arm things, or not 2B arms, but shoulders done. And then we'll do 2B arms. After we do his chest plate, I think we'll do his chest plate next. Okay. Now I want to think shading. Shading on these arms to kind of, again, like needs to be almost like front lit. Can be a little bit to the side. Like it getting a little darker where it connects to the arm thing. Front lit. A little bit to the side. Darker as it kind of gets toward. Here we go. Got that kind of working itself out. See what we're looking at now. What if I turn off blue line? How's it looking? Yeah. I like the idea of this almost being a tiny bit of reflected light here. Maybe here too. I think. So one thing that's missing here too, which is there would be a little bit of a shadow here. And a lot of that's going to get blown out by the X-ray effect, but still think we need just a little bit of that. Let's kind of pull it back into reality here. There we go. Speaking of pulling back into reality, I'm going to go just a little bit darker back here. A little bit darker back here. And super darker in the corner. Whew, we're getting there. We're getting there, guys. Okay, let's do his chest panel, and then we'll kind of go from there. So his chest panel is going to be here. Here we got a chest panel thing. do. Chest panel. Okay. And then I think I like the idea of this cutting here. let's go ahead and add some of these little things in here. Okay, and now we're going to do just a slight bit of, it's kind of like these vent things. And now we're going to do our shading on that. Don't think I need to see the underdrawing for that. So here we're going to do, let's see what we can do. Okay, good. Here, let's do kind of shading that goes directionally darker as it goes further back. And then we'll do this shading that will go darker as it goes directionally further back, and a little bit darker toward the bottom. So we're going to have just a little bit of reflected light so you can kind of catch it. And then it's going to get real dark toward the bottom because, again, I want it to kind of fade out into the t-shirt. So much better. Okay, it's getting there. Okay, we're going to have our shading here. This is going to get a lot darker as it gets closer to us and further down. So the brightest point will be up top. Take a couple passes at it till it gets super dark towards us and towards the bottom. We'll erase. Areas where it overlaps. And we'll erase couple of these areas too. Oh. Okay, and now let's try turning that back on. Zooming. Oh my gosh, I think I moved it. Hold on. There we go. Let's see how that's looking. Yeah, that's working. And we'll just get into some really mild little details here. This is going to be dark towards the back and top. So there's going to be a lot of dark here as it comes up there. And then this will get darker as it gets further back. And it's going to be overall quite a bit darker, but I want it to get darker as it gets further back. Erase this out. And I really do want to now turn this back up. And then let's do this, which should get super dark. And again, we're going to have it kind of fade in the base of the shirt. So that'll do. And then we're going to do just some real mild details on the chest part, this thing. So here we go. Start with a real quick pass of kind of everything I want to have. Some extra shade. I want to have this have like a shadow here because it's going to be, implanted in there. And then similarly, I want it to have a shadow here. It's going to get real dark toward the edges. And then I have this part be in shadow, darker than the other parts. This part, this will be casting a mild shadow. This part is going to be deeply dark because it's going back into the body. This part similarly. These guys I want to be kind of indented in there. And then this I want to have kind of sit back. This too. This too. This too. And then we'll do some more kind of tighter rendering. Bring it all together. Should get kind of darker as it gets toward the edge. This should get like lighter as it gets toward the light. Should be kind of casting a bit more of a shadow. And then we're going to just do a real quick patch up so it doesn't look so sloppy. So we'll do some white over here. And that's going to be just enough, not like too much white, but just enough to add a little more detail to it so it doesn't look quite as sloppy. And we'll do just some slight little details. Okay, and I like that. Now I want to have that erased on the corners here. And then I want to have this get darker as it gets lower, because again, I want this to kind of fade in as a shirt. It's going to get darker towards here until it gets black. Now my bitter hands. Okay. There we go. We got that kind of working for us. And then we're just going to do the last part of his body after this. So we're going to probably be at about an hour and a half. And then we got to add our coffee cup or coffee pot. And from there, we're going to add our effect of X-ray, and we'll be good to go. So here is another trailer. This one is the let's do Frank's Adventures at the Library.
Our heroic adventurers fought orcs, monsters, sorcerers, necromancers. Now they find themselves in front of a mystical library. What shall they find? It's all in the roll of the dice. We've come this far. There's great power behind this door. I can feel it. We just have to get past it. This door is no match for my axe. I shall chop it down. You always want to use brute strength. Why don't you try knocking? We'll try it your way. You may enter. The library is open to all those who seek knowledge. Feel free to look through our tomes. Maybe you'll find the answers you seek. I sense great power here, and it's behind those shelves. Indeed, there are powerful items hidden behind these shelves, but you can only get there through the enchanted words. Do you have those words? I believe I do.
Tremble before the Krembo.
There is great power. Look at that glove. Must be so powerful. That is not where I sense this power. I must get closer. I found them. I found the sacred manuscripts written by Joshua Kemble. Behold, I now possess 2 stories and Jacob's apartment. Please tell us more about 2 stories and Jacob's apartment, and who is Joshua Kemble? Xeric Award-winning cartoonist Joshua Kemble is a freelance artist, graphic designer, and author. 2 Stories is a confessional graphic memoir that grapples with questions of faith, mental illness, depravity, and ultimately redemption in a fallen world. Jacob's Apartment is a coming-of-age graphic novel in the vein of Ghost Road and Fun Home. It weaves together the threads of spiritual faith, identity, purpose, love, and loss to create an engrossing world in which waking and sleeping dreams collide. You have made your choice. The passage is now closed. Wait, can I get that glove? No. Oh. All right, let's go.
All right, so right now I'm just adding the lines for the little rivet things for his arm. Sweet. And now we're going to just do the other arm, and then we render it out. So real easy peasy, lemon squeezy here. A lot of people don't know how fun art can be. It can be like, you can just draw cool 2B robots, you know? And 2B like tubes, not 2B like to be or not to be, or 2B like a 2B pencil. I mean 2B almost like the channel 2B. Like a TV tube. Okay. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and render this sucker. Let's do it. First, I'm going to do the dark sides, because they're easy peasy. So we're just going to do these little bits. There's little kibbles and bits here. And then we'll work a little bit further from there. We're actually pretty close to done. I do want to add a little bit of cross-hatching, maybe. We'll see. May not be necessary, but it'd be fun. Did I just did this on the same layer? Arg. Let's go back. Let's see if we can go back. Can we go back? Did I go too far? That's going to be a problem if I went too far. I went too far. Oh, no. I forgot to make a new layer, so that's okay. It just would have been easier if I'd made a new layer. Now I got to extra clean with these erasures. Okay. Just on this part, and then we can kind of deal with the other parts. All right. There we go. Now let's try doing a little cleaner of a job. Da, 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 da. Hey. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. So now we're going to erase out the edges. Okay. 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 We're getting there. We're getting there. Now I think what I can do is get rid of that blue line. We can just kind of see where we're at. I just want to have just a shading on the arms now. So let's get that going. Get our shading done. And let's rock and roll. So this is pretty easy. This will just be lighter here, darker as it goes back with a little reflected light. Lighter here, darker as it goes back with a reflected light. Lighter here, darker as it goes back with a little reflected light. We're just kind of doing that for each little rung here. Then we might go back and hit it to make it a little darker on the dark spots with a smaller brush size. But we'll see if that's necessary. And again, I'm going to want this to just kind of completely black out as I get towards the end. So we'll figure out a way to do that. Not so meanly. There we go. Just to go to total black. So make that fade kind of more natural. Okay, and then we'll do the same here. Lighter here. A little bit of reflected light as it gets darker. Lighter to darker. Lighter to darker. Lighter to darker. Okay. Then a couple little things. A little more detail and dark. That got moved. Okay. Let's see. One other second. Perfect. Okay. I need to just erase out some of this little spot here, and then we'll kind of move our way to the last touches once we get that coffee in there. Coffee reveal is going to be interesting, so I want to save that till the last layer or layers, because I'm going to want to put that sort of above, like not in a tacky way. And we got to kind of figure that out. So how that's going to blend. And that's what I'll be looking at that X-ray that I have on the side real closely, just to try to kind of mimic that. But right now I feel like we have a robot, you know? We got a pretty well rendered robot. He's not like perfect, but he'll pass. Okay, so let's get our blue lines back in here. Well, let's first actually consolidate some of these layers. Because yeah, that's a lot of layers. So what I'm going to do now is just merge visible. Let's merge these suckers into one solid drawing. And now I'm looking at my references and my guy. Okay. Also, I can turn this to multiply. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to do my coffee pot now. I want to do the coffee pot in a kind of clever way. We'll have to see how that all pans out. Okay. Coffee pot. Really should do a thinner line. Let's do a thin line. Thinner line for my coffee pot. I like a thick line, but this needs thin line. And let's put it kind of here. Pick the in between. That works. Okay. Okay. And this is going to go here to here. Is that going to overlap? Okay, now I see what's going on. Okay. And then we're going to do our coffee pot here. And this will go to here. Yes, this is starting to work really well. Okay, good. And then I want to have this kind of go here. I want to kind of turn off that layer just so I can see my layer underneath. Whew, we're getting there. Okay, this is good. And now we're going to have our glass part here. A lip of it here. And then we're going to do our glass. And again, now I want to turn this off just so I can see my line. From the stream earlier today where I did the sketch. We're just going to clean that up. Cool. And this is going to go through here. Good. Okay, now I just want to do my coffee line here. Well, let's do the base of the coffee thing here. Let's make sure we get that. And then I want to do a little bit of a zoom out if my computer will catch up. It didn't like that. Okay. Okay, and then we want to do the coffee level, which I'm going to do up here. And I want to have the coffee level kind of up here. Okay. Now I want to turn off the line there, and then we want to have our coffee sort of inside of the glass of the cup. Inside of the glass of the cup. And I think we might reduce the size just slightly so that it creates less tangents with the robot, because there's a little bit of tangents going on. I like the idea of it almost being a little less there. Maybe not overlapping the eye as much, so maybe it'll go back here. I like that. Okay, I'm going to save it, and then we're going to continue to kind of rock this business. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to render the coffee pot without looking at the robot. And then from there, I think I want to see what happens when they overlap. So my coffee pot, it's going to be kind of dark on the ends. Let's look at the X-ray again. Yeah, kind of like rain. Like dark at the ends. And then lighter as it goes into the inside. Dark at the ends. And lighter as it goes on the inside. I'm only worrying about the lines on the inside. I think what we'll do is eventually kind of grow it out, but we'll see. So kind of dark at the ends, lighter on the inside. Okay. So I want to render this out just a tiny bit more just in these spots. So now we're going to try to make this a little more custom. Let's do, okay, good. Now let's do a little bit of white. Okay, now we're going to do our dark here, but this is going to be like much darker. It's a weird way to render because it's like I want the light to be coming from a direction, not from a straight where I'm looking at it, like I'm shooting it with a flash. But for this to work, I think it needs to be lit this way. I guess we'll find out when we finally do the conversion to kind of make it into an X-ray. But I think this is how it's going to work. So it's going to work here. But we'll see. And then you guys can make fun of me if I'm wrong. Okay, so we have our coffee pot edges. How are you guys doing tonight? I'm having an intense rendering of a coffee pot right now. Ooh, look at that. It is starting to work. Okay. I just wanted to see. How it was working. And it looks like it's working okay. Okay, let's continue. Let's do dark here, like super dark. Like this should be like black here. And it gets just a little bit lighter as it comes up. And then we need to do one more pass like that, but over here, where it's going to get real dark as it comes up. And then we're going to do another pass where it's going to get darker as it gets toward the center. And then we're going to do our final pass on the other side, which will be come on. There we go. Okay. We're getting closer, guys. Now, what we're going to do is a little bit of white. Put it into there. Just a tiny bit. Maybe up here. Maybe here it gets just a tiny bit lighter. Maybe here it gets a tiny bit lighter. Maybe here it gets a tiny bit lighter. And then maybe we move all of this underneath. Let's see what we got. Hey! Would you look at that? It's starting to work. Okay. Maybe we need to go back to that and erase our edges so that they're a little crisper. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. Now what I want to do is glass. So we're going to keep this real light. Around the areas that have coffee. The areas that have coffee are going to get super dark. But for these areas, I want it to just be slightly there. Maybe we have some glass kind of refraction going on. Similarly here, maybe a little bit of glass going on there. And then what we're going to do is erase that out. And let's see what happens there. Now let's turn this on. And then I want to do just a little bit of trick where we're going to do white underneath. Just to kind of really... Is that working? It's weird that that's not working. Oh, because we're not in our brush. Do white underneath. And then we'll erase that out. In all the right spots. We'll leave it in a lot of the other spots. Okay. And then what I want to do is add some black now, because this is going to be the coffee part. Coffee part is going to get real dark real fast. It's going to go from there to like real dark to like down here, like almost black, to over here, like a little bit lighter as it gets toward the center, and then super dark as it gets toward the ends. So that we can have it be like, this is the black pot of coffee. And then similarly, I think what we'll do is put a little white in there. The white kind of come over here where it's going to be reflecting off the base. Come over here where it's making like a little shine. Over here. Oh, not that dark. Back to black. And get it real dark. Dark again. Dark toward the end. And then we're going to erase out at the edges. Okay, and then we're going to go back to dark. And then maybe here we have that overlap again. Okay, and now I want to do this. I'm kind of happy with that, but the one thing I want to do is another layer. Where this just gets just a tiny bit darker in the spots where it's overlapping the coffee, but just more controlled than before, right? Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm going to actually view this in this view. we're just going to look at it. And I'm pretty happy with how it's come out so far, but I want to add a little bit of detail to the shading. And then from there, we're going to add like a little bit of light. I'm going to add just a little bit of cross hatching, and we're going to make it into a screen print, or not a screen print, a X-ray. So let's see what we can do here. Okay. Let's do a break real quick, and then we'll get into the real nitty gritty of it. But I'm happy with how this is coming out so far. Kind of fun. Let's try doing the Jacob's Apartment trailer, the full one. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing things. I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. Dropped something. Okay, so let's get into this a little bit more. So we got this starting to come to shape, starting to take shape. Now I want to just go over it with some passes, just to give it a little bit of a touch before we kind of get into all the extra stuff. So I like the coffee pot. I want to keep it on its own layer, so I'll go ahead and merge that into one. Oh wait, without the background on. I'm going to merge that into one. Oh man, I'm getting tired. Okay, I am an old man. I'm starting to get tired at this early. Okay, merge visible. Where was I? Oh, here. It's here. Merge visible. Okay, so we have our coffee pot. We got our robot. We got this white background, and now we're going to just go over it with some mild little details. I want to get just a sense that it's more kind of rendered than maybe it is. So we're going to pass over it with just a little bit of details. I want to add just some mild shading just to give it more life, you know? And we'll see if this works. Thanks. Pepsi Cola said, just jump back on. The magic coffee pot pet. The coffee pot looks incredible. As a younger, older man, I understand. Nice. Oh, I think he understands me getting kind of wiped at the clock. It's like, come on. I can do better than this. Okay, so we're going to do just a little bit of details here. Just some like scratching the surface kind of stuff, right? We'll see if that's overdoing it or not. I think that's going to add just those vibes, you know, and polish it a little bit. So we're going to do just a little bit of shading. Let's add our little hatch marks. And also it'll crisp it up a little bit from a distance, because what we're doing is kind of really refining those edges. Yeah. Especially on stuff like this coffee pot, I think this is going to help, where we're going to just add a little bit more of that detail. Similarly here, I want it to be like getting a little darker, adding just a tiny bit of detail. And I think we'll go over it with some white too eventually. Just adding like a little bit of nuance to it. A little bit more details, you know. That's overkill. We'll see. No, I kind of like that. Also, we're giving it a little bit of balance on the, just helping the form of it kind of pop a little more. Yeah, I think that's working just a tad bit better in the spots that I've passed over. Let's try to get some of that going here too. Yeah, that is definitely helping. Okay, a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Again, like kind of crisping up some of the edges, add a little bit of texture and detail to it, a little bit of ingenuity to it. Kind of liking this actually quite a bit. Yeah. Okay, we'll keep going. This is the annoying thing about art is you end up having these little things where you're like, oh, this might make it better. And then it does. And it adds like 30, 40 minutes to your work time. Like it could have been done just when I thought I was out, but it's going to help. It's going to help a lot to add this. So we're going to add it. I'm going to add just slight bits of details. This is going to help give it a little more form, a little more shape, a little more texture, a little more detail. Right? Yeah, 100%. Okay. Fine, art gods, I will do it. I wonder if that's what that is. Is that the art gods that make us do this stuff? Where they're just like, nope, you got to do this. You got to do this extra bit. But it does help so much. So, again, we're going to kind of get this in there. This takes it to another level. So if people are like looking at this, it'll add that extra kind of wow factor. You know, that I think, you know, again, like if you watch the process, it's not like rocket science how it's being done, but I think the final result will end up looking like, how the heck, you know. So we're just going to add a little bit of that. Yeah. Yep. Any little detail, but it makes a difference. Come on. Yeah, that's helping the form kind of speak a little bit. So we'll keep going. I like these little bits too on the lighter parts where the lines will kind of come out. It really helps. Helps the thing sting a little bit. A little bit, you know, makes it look a little more intentional. Right? Yeah. Pepsi Cola said, the patience comic artists have is beyond me. Well, this thing is, I guess, technically an illustration. So, but we'll get her. I think this is going to help, though. And I want this to be almost these, like, yeah, and then this will have like lines going like this, which will kind of reinforce that angle to it. And this can have lines kind of coming here just to smooth that out. And then these will be really in need of that. Yeah, look how smooth. How smooth is that? Okay. Let's continue. So let's do just a little bit more of that line stuff. Now we got to do it everywhere. Arg. Because it just looks cooler. I want to have this have that as well because it's kind of splotchy looking, and I think this will help unsplotch that. Let me see. Is this making that much of a difference? Yeah, look at that difference. If I turn it off, right, and then I turn it on, oh my gosh. It's kind of weird, but yeah, it makes a massive difference having those lines. Because they're adding form, right? Form and kind of reinforcing the underlying drawing, and also tightening up the shading, which is kind of cool. Okay, what's this? And this is going to really help in the area where this is like starting to get kind of abstracted, because we can start polishing this a little bit. So these areas kind of have more cleanliness, which is next to godliness, guys. Okay. So we can kind of start differentiating a little bit more in this spot where it gets a little wild. And also we'll roll this so that it kind of rounds that corner a little bit. And when you guys see what I end up doing to kind of make this look like a X-ray, you're going to be like, why did you do all this work? Because that part's pretty easy. Well, in theory. Right? Starting to get there. We're getting there, guys. It's going to be done soon. Now it's just a matter of like adding some of this little fragmented stuff. So I want to just add some of these. And again, these aren't just arbitrary. It's kind of adding a little bit of volume and direction to the lines, because it's going to help people differentiate what is coming in what direction, hopefully, in theory. So we're going to have things like this, or this will kind of clarify that the direction of this plane. And that will connect to this. And when you're cross-hatching, you always want to make sure you're at 45s. Not at 90s, at 45s with your line. Do 90-degree cross-hatching, it looks weird. Unless you're trying to make like a potato sack. If you're trying to make a potato sack, go for 90-degree lines. If not, try for 45s. Yep, we're getting there. Let me look at it without, with. without, with. Yeah, I think with is better. Might need to be a little bit more of this kind of stuff going on here. Okay, and let's get a little bit of line here too, just to like reinforce that arch. A little bit of line, reinforce the arch. A little line, reinforce the arch. A little line, reinforce that. A little bit of line to reinforce that. We'll get there. Key is just not getting impatient, but Pepsi Cola had it pretty accurate there. Where a lot of the game is really trying to be patient, trying to, not push yourself to where you're rushing. Right now, that's my big challenge because I know I'm real close to done. Could have just lived it without this and gone on to my kind of X-ray thing, but this is the little extra bits that make these things work. Smooths it out, sells it. Okay. And now I want to do just a little bit of that here. A little bit of that here. A little bit of that here. And then we're going to get just a little bit more of this hatching going. Just kind of smooth out some of these areas. My computer's not liking quick movements on the thing. Corey said he's popping in for a minute to say hi. How's it going, Corey? Just drawing myself a coffee robot for a client. And just kind of adding those little last minute touches to kind of really sell the rendering on it. How are you doing, my dude? Hopefully well. We're going to kind of add that, adding those little last minute touches that kind of sell it. Let's try here. He said, what's the end deliverable? A poster, an ad? It's a t-shirt. So what I'm going to do is make this an X-ray. And we're going to be doing that last step once I've done these little last minute touches. And then we're going to X-rayify this sucker. Which actually should look really cool. I wasn't expecting it. I don't know. With these things, you never know. So I thought it would be cool, but I didn't expect it to quite work out the way it is right now, which is cool. So it always does, though, with art. That's the weird thing. Like with art, you do stuff, you kind of work out the method, and then you follow the madness, and you end up with some pretty cool results. So I think here we're just going to do just the last little things. And there we go. Okay. So now what I want to do is we're gonna do our quick business of make a copy of that. I'm gonna save the. I'm gonna merge this all down. Merge visible. We're going to actually make a copy of the background. We're going to go ahead and merge that down. Merge visible. And then we're going to go to image mode. We're going to make sure it is in grayscale. Let's not merge everything. Discard color information. Oh, come on. Come on, computer. Catch up. Catch up. I can't wait for the next chapter of Corey's story. I think it's really good. Okay, I'm saving this, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to image, adjustments, invert. Wow, look at that, look at that. I don't know if I like that, though, so let's see. Let's try something else. Well, let's first, actually, I'm forgetting a step. Okay, first we're going to go to image mode. We're going to do bitmap. Let's see what we got there. I did lines. Let's see what we got there. It's way too tight of a screen. Okay. You know what we're going to do before we do any of this bitmappy business? I'm going to go ahead and save this. Okay. Now we're going to make a new file because I don't want to do all this bitmappy fun stuff till let's paste. Oh, it didn't copy it. How lovely. Ah, this is annoying. Okay, let's see here. Not annoying. It's just everything takes 20 times longer. Give me a second. Okay. And take our robot. We're going to move him here. And now we're going to do mass destructive editing. What size did I make this? Did I not make this the right resolution? Yeah, this should be 600, not... Okay. I tend to try to make, especially if you're working in like 1 or 2 colors, 600 ppi is a good way to go. 300 ppi is for wusses. No, it's people who want to wait as long as I'm waiting right now for this to work. Come on. But now we're going to do our magic. Magic. Okay. Okay. Do we have a really cool robot? Yes. Is the robot going to be awesome? Yes. Do we have to do some weird stuff to the robot? 100%. Okay. First things first, I'm going to do a copy of this. Let's see what we can do here. I'm going to go to image adjustments. Let's have to go to grayscale again. Let's go ahead and flatten this sucker. Discard. Okay. Now we're going to do image adjustments. Hold on. Before I do that, I'm going to make a copy. Okay. Image mode. Let's do bitmap. Okay. And I want to do, let's do like a halftone screen with, let's do like 200 pixels per inch. And then I want to do round. Yeah, that works. Let's see what we got there. How did that work out? Not so hot. Let's try messing with this a little more. Let's try like frequency like 50. I'm not digging this so much. So instead, what we're going to do is we're actually going to do filter. It's been a while since I did this with my last one. I kind of like that. That's working, right? Screen printable. I kind of like this. If I do this, if I go above that and go to image adjustments, curves, we're going to blow this sucker out. And then I'm going to do that image adjustments. Let's try mode bitmap. Let's try like 40. Didn't like that so much. So what we're going to do instead is go to image adjustments threshold. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then we'll see what happens when we do this. And if I go up here and do a little bit of cleanup. Yep, that's the jam. That's the jam right there, guys. The bacon, eggs, and ham. Chris Kawagua said, "Good looking robot there. Thanks." Working on some client illos. Where we're doing a X-ray bot. I'm doing just a little bit of details, cleanup, that kind of thing. Oh. Oh. Okay, and then there's a couple things I might want to do. See here. Let's do this at, let's do this like, said you make a good TV news anchor. I don't know about that. I feel like a lot of this has been pretty boring. Okay, so there we go. I'm kind of liking this. I think that what I'm going to do is kind of leave it at this point. I like the original illustration, but I think this is going to be more workable for kind of transferring to a thing. There's a couple little spots though that I don't like dirty spots here. Dirty spots. Well, let's get rid of some of those. Some of those spots might be kind of like here. Like I like some of the black areas, but I feel like some of it looks a little unclean. Okay. That's going to work for me, kind of where we're at. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to merge visible. Then I'm going to do a good old select all and make sure that I have anti-aliasing off. Now I'm going to do a good old, let's fill it. And then I do a good old lock. And let's turn this to a nice X-rayish color. And let's select all. Oh, we have to turn this back to CMYK. Don't merge. Okay. I also should save this probably as like, let's save this file, save as. And this will be called Robot X-ray Seps. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and hit this with color film. Now let's see what this looks like with, if I go here. Oh. What's this going to look like if suddenly everything goes to a couple things I got to do here. Okay. One is I have that now. What I want to do here is go to File or Image, Adjustments, Invert. Now I want to select this. We'll see what happens here. Let's select this, let's select this with continuous off. We're playing around here, but we'll get there. And now we're going to go to here. Let's do Shift F5. Why isn't Shift F5 working? Oh, it's because the visibility is not on. Okay. Which is going to look better? Like, I am curious which is going to look better. Okay, there's another thing I want to do here, which is I want to select here with continuous on. And then I want to make a layer that's going to be black. Now I'm going to turn this off. Turn this on and see what happens here. Now, if I were to say make this color, what's that going to look like? as opposed to... I'm playing around here, guys. Give me a second. I think the better route is going to be to actually full out do this with this. And then get in here and clean this up. But that doesn't look like an X-ray to me. Like, even if that's black, that doesn't look like an X-ray. Whereas this, if I take this and I kind of get in there and do this, that's going to look like an X-ray. Yeah, I like that better. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this. I'm going to go ahead and make another layer just to give it a little bit of depth. And we're going to do filter, pixelate, color, halftone. Oh my goodness. Okay, and let's do like bigger halftones. Come on. Come on, slow computer. Oh, and these are those weird color ones, but this might actually work to my advantage because what I want to do is grab the black, or the blackest ones. Come on. Here we go. And then I want there to be a little bit of variety because I think I want to have this have a darker tone. You know, I'm pretty happy with this, actually. I don't know. The only thing I'm not so sure about... Yeah, I don't know about this. I feel like there's something missing. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. It just needed that extra push. Am I crazy? And just need to have this. I think we're actually pretty good. So might be overdoing this. Let's do one extra step. Let's just do the black here. Okay, and then I'm going to do select all. Well, that should have worked. There's a lot of like weird new tools in Photoshop that are actually really annoying. Okay, file new. Come on. Come on, computer. I think that's going to do it. I think that's where we're going to leave it. So, let me know what you guys think. I'm pretty happy with that robot X-ray. I think it's clear. You guys tell me. I almost wonder if I should go in with a little bit of black just to clarify some of it. Kind of like if I can go in with like a pencil tool and we can clarify tiny bits of it. Maybe that's too much, you know? Like, is that going to help if I go in and do that? Maybe not so much. What if I do more subtle stuff with a brush? Then, okay. You know, there's days where I really hate being an artist. I mean, I don't hate it, but like, there's little things where you're like, yeah, and I could do this, and then I could do this. And the next thing you know, what was going to be a very quick illustration becomes kind of a much longer one. Yeah, I'm going to dig that a little more if I have just a little bit more of that clarifying stuff in there. We'll half tone this stuff too, so it doesn't conflict. We just need a few little lines of clarity in there. How are you guys doing? I'm frustrated with perfectionism. Not that this is going to be perfect, but I want it to be. I want it to be better. I know it's missing something, so I know I can add these little bits, little kibbles and bits, and it'll work out a little better. See? That's already going to look better. You guys know. You guys know the score. You know how it goes. You're like, this will go quick. Then you're like, that could be so much better. Okay. I do like this being kind of blown out. Maybe just a tiny bit of clarity. Tiny bit of clarity here. A little bit more clarity here. Kind of similar thing. Just an ounce of, yeah, that's going to help. And like the illustration itself looked good, but it's like it needs some of that clarification now that it's got the X-ray effect on it. That's starting to look real good. Now we're getting somewhere. This is the fun part about the experimentation of this kind of thing, though. You know? Because I feel like you don't get that like authentic kind of vibe with this sort of stuff without adding some of these little nuances, right? See? Starting to get there. Starting to actually look like an X-ray, right? But we're just kind of building back in some of the details. And I frankly think this is what I did years ago on that Kermit X-ray shirt, you know? It's been so long. And I remember back then I would do a lot of weird kind of back and forth experiments like this. But I do think this is how it was achieved. I kind of don't mind that. I don't want to have too many lines though, you know? And I'm going to basically end up half-toning these lines too, just to kind of blend it a little more. But these are like little clarification lines just to make it really... Because your goal as an illustrator is always like, at the end of the day, like something can look cool, but if it doesn't make sense or visually communicate, then you failed, right? So it's always like this fine balance between, you know, looking cool, even in this case, looking, I guess, realistic, like a real X-ray, but also, you know, not sucking to the point where like not sucking, but not being confusing. You know, you want people to look at it and go, aha. So we're just adding those little clarification marks just to make sure, hey, we're not going to lose you, right? When you look at this, you're not going to be confused. I kind of don't mind if like some of his body is a little blown out. Because again, it's sort of an X-ray, right? But it's like just making sure those core details, especially of his face, are going to come out. Maybe we clarify some of this a little bit too. Clean this up a little bit. Yeah. Now we're talking. Right? To me, that looks like a robot X find a coffee pot. Problem achieved. The only thing that I need to do is clarify a little bit more. How's that? I think we got there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take these, copy them, make a new file. Make sure it's grayscale when it says color. We're going to go to grayscale. We'll go to create. Go to edit, paste special, paste in place. We're going to go ahead and go to filter, pixelate, color halftone. Let's do these as like a little smaller. Let's do like 10s. Did that work? No, it didn't. Oh, it's because I had it locked. Merge visible. filter. Pixelate, let's color halftone again. That works. That'll kind of blend a little better so it doesn't look quite as out of place. And we're going to paste, edit, paste special, paste in place. Those did not paste in place. We'll move them. Maybe I did too big of halftone dots for that. So we're going to move these back over so that we can kind of have that clarity that I made. But again, like it's going to blend more with that, the vibe of that. And then we'll just scoot it in till it looked kind of in place. That, to me, my friends, is a finished robot for a client. Now I want to let's try something. Okay. I'm pretty happy with that for now. So we'll see what they say. But yeah, we'll see what the client says. I'm pretty happy with that. I kind of like it. It's pretty rad. It's pretty punk rock. I don't know about the type there. Maybe the type should be more kind of buried. Like maybe the type goes. I want it to be not like fancy typography. But maybe it just goes there. And maybe it's like maybe it's more maybe it's on one. Let's see. Oh, I have an idea. Oh, I hate how nerdy I am about stuff, but let's try something a little more fun. Like maybe starch goes here. And maybe it's maybe then we have like a big and maybe we'll have starch at here. I have an idea. Come on. You know what? I liked it better as a side thing. What if these are both still like that, but we do something? Kind of like that. Let's try. Yep. Okay, that's going to be it. Guys, I will see you guys on the next live stream. I think we've done it. We'll see you guys, and I will let you know if this t-shirt is ever up for sale, so that you guys can pick up a copy. Do what the client says. All right, guys, I'm going to call it for the stream. Have a good night. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and the bell so that you get notifications when I'm about to go live. I have a lot of illustrations and stuff that I got to do in the next few days. I will try to live stream when I am able, and I will see you guys on the next live stream. And yeah, if you haven't yet, hit that like button. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.